You know, guys, I was thinking I was gonna make this a very flashy and interesting video where I use a lot of green screen effects and use a lot of memes to get the point across, but I'm just gonna say it. I'm tired, guys. I'm so sick and tired of stuff like this happening, and it's just at this point I just want to talk about it because it's everywhere. You've already seen the news. The Nintendo Switch 2. Oof. So I watched the Nintendo Direct after most of you guys because I live in Sweden. I'm a Swede. I generally catch up on things a day later than most of you. And so I woke up to this live stream. They had this showcase and I was pretty amped up. I was like, oh my God, look at this new Mario Kart. Oh, look at this new sort of Bloodborne 2 type game that's coming out from FromSoft that is exclusive to Switch 2. Look at these lineups, man. Like, I have a Switch. I love playing on my Switch whenever I get the time to. I love all of the Zelda games that have released, both of them that have released on the Switch, that being Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild. I'm a pretty big Nintendo fanboy, if I may say so myself. I started off my gaming career, or well, my gaming life with playing Mario 64, like a lot of you. Back in the day, I got a Nintendo 64 from my parents, and ever since then I've been a big fanboy for Nintendo. That said, I have realized throughout the years that Nintendo has become unrecognizable for me in a lot of ways. And this latest showcase from Nintendo just really hammers it home for me. Nintendo is not the same as I remember. Maybe they are, maybe they've always been this way, but the way that they are so blatantly anti-consumer is fucking crazy to me. Now I want you guys to know, I have no hate in my heart towards Nintendo in general. But this thing, this makes me feel a certain way. I'm kind of irritated. So in case you don't know what's going on here, Nintendo Switch 2 is coming out this spring, and the console is going to be priced at around $450 or $450, which isn't too much. I mean, that's pretty average to what other consoles has generally sold throughout the ages. The problem is that the pricing of the games that come with Switch 2 is one step above than what people were expecting. I don't think anybody expected them to raise the price this much. So in case you're wondering what most of the games will be priced between is between $80 to $90, $80 to $90 US for their games for the Switch 2. And that's only the start, but let's get into that. First of all, this price range of $70 that we've gotten used to, we've gotten used to that price range fairly recently. It wasn't too many years ago that a lot of companies and studios and publishers started raising their prices up to $70, but that wasn't very common back in just 4 or 5 years ago. I think it was around 4 or 5 years ago. You can correct me in the comment section if I'm wrong about that, but I don't remember that being a typical price for games just a couple of years ago. Actually, it was $60. That was the average for most games. And sometimes, you know, we have studios and publishers that release these games for maybe $50 to $60, which is all right. It's, you know, it's average. It's a good price. Now, you could also say that, hey, these price raises are because of tariffs and whatnot, because of the situation in the US. The thing is, as far as I can tell, these prices is going to affect me as well, because we use krones in Sweden. We don't use euros. We don't use dollars. We don't, you know, we use our Swedish krones. But as far as I can tell, the prices is going to be around 1,000 Swedish krones for one video game for Switch. And I gotta say, as much as the Switch 2 games on the showcase looks pretty good, they don't look current generation as much as, you know, what Xbox and PlayStation and, you know, PC games have been just throughout, you know, the last few years. They haven't even caught up, technically speaking, on the Switch 2 yet. They just arrived at supporting up to 120 FPS on 1080p, but still, when you really look at the games, like, they're not at the current generation of what would be considered next gen or current gen graphics, which also speaks volumes because we have games from PlayStation and Xbox that are like $70 generally, and they are high production games, and a lot of them are really good. Now, I'm not going to say that all of these games are amazing, like PlayStation and Xbox, and a lot of publishers have had their issues with their games. Not every game is perfect, but man, Nintendo just hasn't caught up. Let's be fair here. They're still catching up, but they still feel like they can raise the price that much. It's just baffling to me. Especially so when gaming is sort of like a commodity these days, in a way, because gaming back 30 years ago or so, it was a luxury product. So of course it was maybe, more expensive to buy a console and a video game back then because it was more of a luxury product. It was a new technology. But nowadays, like, gaming is all over the world. There are more gamers than ever. There's billions of gamers out there in the world, and it just keeps growing. Like, everybody, by the end of this century, everybody will be a gamer on the entire planet in one way or another, if we can survive that long. So when you think about the fact that we are more gamers than ever, you would consider that maybe the pricing shouldn't be that high, because then suddenly you have this problem where the games suddenly again become a luxury product. Video games should not, in my opinion, be a luxury product. But when you raise the price so much that it's going to approach the price of around 1,000 Swedish krones, you guys have no idea. That's a lot of money for just a general Swede. And that's a lot of money as well, like $90 for an American, or 90 euros or 90, well, it's not going to be 90 euros, but it's going to be almost 90 euros or 90 quid in England, so to speak. It's like, these prices are fucking insane. This sets a very terrible precedent for the future, because what is going to end up happening is that this is going to set the precedent that other publishers and studios are now going to hijack that and increase their prices without any really good motivation. That is just going to become a commonplace, unfortunately. I hate it, but it's just true. It's really cool to see everybody speaking up about this, though. There's been a huge backlash, and I really mean huge. Everybody's talking about this. And I think it's really cool to see, like, most consumers are in pretty much agreement, even like a lot of Nintendo fanboys, that this is just unacceptable. Like, Nintendo, what are you doing? Like, you had a really good presentation, you had a really good showcase making people excited and hopeful, but then they didn't want to reveal the pricing, and so you had to look it up yourself, and then you figure out that, it's like that, huh? And that is just one part of it. Another part is that some games that you buy, physically speaking, and this is regarding the whole debate of digital games versus physical games, because we have entered an age where a lot of publishers and studios want to go over completely to digital purchases. So technically, you're not buying a game when you buy it online. You're just buying the license to use it, which is garbage, but that's also something we're getting into. And what Nintendo is doing is that some of the games, and I don't know if this is going to be about all of the games in Nintendo's library or for the Switch 2 at least, but some of the Switch 2 games you buy, if you buy them physically speaking, that is, in a store, I'm sweating, I'm irritated as hell. If you go buy a physical copy of a game for your Switch 2, you're just going to buy casings, right? You're just going to buy your little box, but the actual cartridge or the product that you're actually buying is just either data or a code for you to download the game on the internet. So what you're doing is you're just buying a freaking box for some, I don't know, that you can have on your shelf or something. Why would you have a price of $90 for a product that only contains like the code or the info to download the game later on when you get home online? What's the point? What are they doing? I am so confused. I'm not even, I haven't half absorbed all of it because it's just so chaotic. But this is not good, you guys. And you might be asking, hey, Mr. Alton, Alex, why are you talking about this? You're not a Nintendo head. Normally, I don't talk about Nintendo games on the channel, but of course I kind of am. I've played a lot of Nintendo games throughout my years. But the problem is that this affects all of us. This doesn't just affect Nintendo gamers. This is going to affect the entire gaming industry, guys. So let's say that Wizards of the Coast comes out and says, yes, we're making Baldur's Gate 4, right? And everybody's like, yay. And I know some of you are going to be like, I don't want to see Baldur's Gate 4 if it's not for Larian. Same here. But let's say that they find a good studio that can make it, and everybody's like, yeah, oh, that's awesome. Or, for example, Mass Effect, the next Mass Effect game comes out, and EA and BioWare is like, oh, it's $90. The same with Baldur's Gate 4. It's like, oh, but it's going to be $90. That instantly kind of kills, the super excited part of you, because you got to start thinking about, okay, do I want to afford food that month? I don't know, guys. This is terrible. I'm just gonna be frank with you. I don't understand how any of you could spin this as a good thing. It's not a good thing. We recently had this change from $60 to $70 being the standard price for video games. I don't want to see you guys supporting this from Nintendo in the comments below. Of course, you're allowed to have your own opinion, so of course, express it if you want to, but just in my opinion, and in millions of other people's opinions, it would seem this is such a shit show. Nintendo, what are you doing?